We're now live, Leader.
Okay, thank you very much, and welcome, and thank you all for attending this virtual meeting of my executive member for Policy, Resources and Economic Development Decision Day, which is being webcast on the YouTube via the County Council's website. We'll go straight in to the agenda. Deputations, there are no deputations received, as I understand, Louise. Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay. So we'll go straight into agenda item 1, the regulation of Investigative Powers Act 2000. And I think, Richard, you're just going to take us through present the paper. Over to you, please. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councillor. Yes, you've had before you a report with a recommendation that the proposed policy on covert investigatory powers policy is accepted and approved. Just by way of context, RIPA, or the Regulation in Regulatory Investigatory Procedures Act, is the framework by which trading standards and other services within the County Council can act in terms of undertaking covert investigatory work. This is not something undertaken lightly, and indeed in the last 18 months there has been no activity in respect to this framework. However, it is important that the County Council and officers have the powers to act in a covert nature when needed to do so, and particularly in the past that has been undertaken by trading standards in respect of the most serious criminal fraud activities where we've needed to act covertly. And the framework and the policy in which we act under enables us to do that legally and with proportionality, and only where necessity, where there is no other open techniques that can yield the same results. So in the last few months, the policy has been reviewed and changes have been made, particularly in terms of mentioning internet and social media investigations and use, and that's to be 100% transparent on what we can and cannot do, and what control procedures we will put in place in terms of using these powers if we need to do them in future. So they're presented to you in order to make a decision and accept the policy going forward, please.
Richard, thank you very much. And it is effectively just a renewal, but I did note also, as I say, it wasn't used once last year, and the detail in there in terms of it it gives us the ability, it just sits there if we ever do need to use it. And I know there's very strict criteria around that and when we can and can't. Councillor Collett, you have your hand up. You're on mute, Adrian.
Thank you. Can I first of all say that it's of great commendation to the County Council. We don't use these powers flippantly. They are powerful powers. They're serious powers. And there's no evidence that Hampshire has used them flippantly, and I'm really pleased about that and support that, and therefore very happy with the policy as it stands. The only question that raises in my mind is, are there occasions when we hold back from using these powers when maybe we shouldn't? Are we going too far the other way? I just welcome Richard's comments on that.
Well, my comments are on that it's a good question. I would say in my relatively little experience of Hampshire, but of considerable experience at other authorities, we are in line with other authorities' lack of use of these powers. It's there in extreme cases. I'm pleased to say that sometimes the seriousness of the crimes that we at least initially seek to investigate, they are taken on by the police, who also have these powers and the same control measures, and that probably equates for the lack of use in terms of us. However, I think going forward, we will use them when we need to, and the importance of having the policy and the processes in place is to facilitate that use when it is necessary, rather than hold back at any time, which maybe would have done if the policies weren't as robust as they are now.
Thank you very much. That's reassuring.
I think Adrian, I think it is a good question, but I noted in the report the IOM, the Intelligence Operating Model, which is clearly what we work under, and I think that gives you clear guidance. I'd be very comfortable that clearly it sits there for us to use, but I think it is a good question. And then if we're in line with the others, I think we would be following that policy. If we need to use it, we would. But your comments right at the beginning, really important in terms that we're certainly not abusing the use of that method, if you like, or that system. But I think we're all very grateful that if it does need to be used, we would use it, I think is the answer. So thank you, Richard. Has any other member got any further comments on the paper? No, I can't see any other hands. So Richard, thank you very much for presenting the paper. And Louise, very happy to accept the recommendations as set out in paragraph 2 on page 3. Thank you. Okay, we will go straight on to agenda item 2, Titchfield Haven National Nature Reserve. And I think, Felicity, you are going to present. I will just mention, you probably will as well, clearly we had through the select committee yesterday, thorough process there, and we've been through Councillor Oppenheimer's decision day this morning. Felicity, over to you.
Thank you, Councillor Humby. And yes, as you say, I know you were at Councillor Oppenheimer's decision day this morning when I gave a reasonably comprehensive introduction. Just to reiterate on the select committee yesterday, 3 deputations that select committee considered, and 2 county councillors also spoke. Select committee went into a significant period of questions and then into debate. I think they gave the topic a very thorough review, building on the information session we'd had with them 2 weeks before. I just also wish to acknowledge, I did it for Councillor Oppenheimer's decision day, but I think it needs further acknowledgement, the strength of feeling in the local community, which was also accepted and acknowledged yesterday. And that came through very strongly in the deputations and in the survey responses. And a lot of that strength of feeling relates to the cafe and its importance to the local community as part of the community facilities as they see them. Notwithstanding, and I do wish to emphasise that I am comfortable with the financial figures as they are presented in the report. There's been subject to some question over the last 24 hours from the deputations, but I'm very comfortable with what we are proposing to you. But notwithstanding, the officers wish to continue to bring forward their recommendations, and these recommendations were unanimously supported by Select Committee yesterday, with the addition of another recommendation which is in front of you this morning, or this afternoon even, and that recommendation that Select Committee have brought forward, and which Councillor Oppenheimer is now recommending to you as part of this sort of cascade of recommendations today, is that the County Council make available either Haven Cottage or the proceeds from the sale of Haven Cottage as part of the negotiated position should any of the community organisations who are interested in running the Nature Reserve and Hill House come forward, and that could form part of a successful negotiated position. I appreciate in a world where finances for the County Council are extremely difficult, that is no inconsiderable decision by you to make that funding available as part of any future negotiations. And so I know Councillor Oppenheimer has requested that you do that, as a result of Select Committee requesting it, but also has had discussions with you prior to today's recommendation. So it remains for me to say that the sale of Hill House would be part of our, in line with our asset strategy. Hill House is a very expensive building to run. We are underutilising it significantly as a service at the moment. It has significant liabilities. In many other parts of Hampshire, we run cafes very successfully and at a profit. Unfortunately, this cafe, its building is Hill House, and Hill House is not a building made to house a cafe. It's a very large old mansion, and therefore, unfortunately, Sorry, I'm saying Hill House, aren't I? Haven House.
Haven
Sorry,
House.
sorry. So Haven House is a very old building and a very big building, and it is unsuitable and therefore surplus to our requirements for the countryside service. It's unfortunate that that is the home for the cafe, but that is what has happened in this situation. So I'm sorry to have, after many months of saying Haven House, to have suddenly started to call it Hill House. Sorry about that. So I think that's all I want to say, Councillor Humby, and I commend to you the recommendations relating to your decision in the report that on ModGov start at number 10.
That's great, Felicity. Now I've got over the slight panic. We had to change a name in the.
Sorry,
I'm okay with that. Absolutely understandable as well. No worries, but thank you for that. What I'm going to do, I will come to members in a minute, see if there's any questions. But I just want to, in the report, it sets out under point 2, and I'm just going to run through that. Because of the process that we've been through, I think it's probably a good idea to make it clear the process we've done. So I'm literally going to read this. So this is a single report, but as a consequence of the constitutional responsibilities of Hampshire County Council executive members, the recommendations in para 3 to 9 need to be considered by the executive member for countryside cultural communities, and the recommendations in paras 10 to 13 by the executive member for policy resources economic development. So these decisions for the executive members have therefore been scheduled to follow each other. I won't repeat all of that, but I think we need to make it clear that there was a very thorough process of select committee yesterday, and as you say, Felicity, unanimous decision to support that. And Councillor Oppenheimer's D-Day was this morning, and the recommendations, as I said, are 3 to 9, and the ones I'm considering today are 10 to 13. So it's quite a process that we've been through because of the way we're arranged in our executive members. I will go to members first. If anybody has a question, or the members on the call, if they can indicate if they would like to say anything. Councillor Collett.
Thank you, Rob. I understand that the select committee yesterday had a very thorough meeting, as Felicity has outlined, and that there was a coming together of views at the end of that. Is the package of recommendations that Councillor Oppenheimer approved an hour ago and you are looking at now exactly in line with what came out of that committee yesterday?
I'll let Felicity answer that, but it is my opinion it is, having sat through there and listened to what the additional recommendation is, but I will let Felicity come back and answer that.
Thank you.
Yes, that is correct. Select committee had these exact recommendations in front of them and then added the additional recommendation that Councillor Oppenheimer considered this morning and Councillor Humby will consider this afternoon. The wording is absolutely matched.
Thank you. I'm content in that case, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Any further comments from any other members? Okay, I can't see anybody indicating wishing to speak. I would just say at this point, having taken the appendix into account, when considering the decision, I do not feel it is necessary to go into the exempt session further at this point, so we will not require to do that. So from my side, thinking about the process that we've been through, which there's been many briefings, and I know Councillor Oppenheimer summed that up very well in his D-Day earlier. And therefore, also, I'd like to add my thanks to Felicity and her team for the amount of work that has gone into this over a very long period of time. And Councillor Oppenheimer referred to the numerous emails that we both had and all been considered. And Russell, you made the point that they had an impact on the decision, and therefore that's where you came to a further recommendation in select committee, and indeed what you proposed in your D-Day. So I think the process has been very thorough, and I'll say once again thank the team for that, and everybody that has commented and had input into this. I know it has been very emotional as well, and it's all added to that. And the continued work that we will be doing with the Hampshire Isle of Wight Trust as well, and those future conversations that were going on, and I know officers are looking at that and having those discussions now. So I thank them for that, and the Trust actually for the input that they've had on that as well. So if you are taking all that into account, I am very happy to accept the recommendations of my part in 10 to 13 in the report, with the additional recommendation, which I will read out because that won't be in there, which said, agrees that if Haven House and Titchfield Haven National Nature Reserve are transferred to another party as a result of a proposal made under paragraph 5 of the report, then that transfer should include Haven Cottage, all the net proceeds of sale of Haven Cottage, subject to negotiations with the parties involved. Now, initially it was and in one of the properties, now at all of them, and I think we'd all agree that that is perfectly the correct thing to do. That's why I think that the discussion at the select committee was appropriate to look at the long-term future of the reserve itself. So I'm very happy to accept that recommendation to go alongside that and indeed welcome it, because that's the very reason we're looking at this as well. And I think that also helps with the further negotiations with any other parties that are interested in talking to us for the long-term future of the properties as well as the nature reserve as well. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to check again, having read an additional recommendation, that there's no further comment from anybody else wishing to make comment. I can't see anything. So Louise, if we can accept that we've accepted the recommendations and the additional recommendations, and happy that that gets recorded as set out. I have no further questions or anything else to follow from there. So I will now please ask for the webcast to be stopped. Thank you, Louise.
I'll confirm we've stopped.
Thank you.